In 1940, George Orwell prophesied in his book Inside the Whale that we were heading towards an age of totalitarian dictatorships. A time when freedom of thought would be considered a deadly sin and an autonomous individual would become extinct. Over 80 years later, we can see his predictions coming to life with totalitarian traits re-emerging in modern societies worldwide. Totalitarianism is a political system in which a centralized state apparatus controls virtually all aspects of life. In the 20th century, communism and fascism were the main ideologies that supported this type of rule. Both systems relied on force and propaganda to gain power, crush economic and civil liberties, smother culture, conduct mass surveillance, and terrorize the citizenry with psychological warfare. Eventually, they resorted to mass imprisonment and mass murder. In 1984, Orwell's dystopian novel, he accurately depicted the totalitarian system that maintained tight control over its populace using fear. Fear is a potent weapon in the hands of totalitarian leaders who use chaos and bewilderment to thrive. The strategy of fear is one of their most valuable tactics, as described by Just Mierlo in his book, Rape of the Mind. The 1984 totalitarian regime also used mass surveillance to induce paranoia among citizens, making it less likely that any citizen would dare step out of line. The telescreen was a technology installed in every citizen's home and throughout the streets, which transmitted and received simultaneously. The telescreen made it impossible to know if you were being watched at any given moment. Citizens had to live in the assumption that every sound they made was overheard, and every movement scrutinized. Furthermore, the citizens of 1984 were also responsible for mass surveillance of their fellow citizens. The most innocent expressions, statements, or looks of disapproval were reported to the thought police and treated as thought crimes or face crimes. This kind of surveillance created social conditions wherein most citizens adopted hypocrisy and lying as a way of life. In Stalinist Russia, Alexander Solzhenitsyn pointed out that one could never be sure whether one's neighbors, friends, co-workers, the postman, or even one's family members would report to the secret police a slip of the tongue, a criticism of Stalin or of communism. If one was reported, their fate was usually sealed, and they would be given the standard sentence of 10 years in the slave labor gulag prison camps. But, before we get started, are you worried about the status of the American economy? Do you want to stay ahead of the curve and make informed decisions? Look no further than Market Meltdown TV. Our channel gives you the true information on real estate, the stock market, economy, politics and more. To help you navigate the upcoming recession or even worse, depression. Our brief, unbiased updates uncover everything the mainstream media doesn't, so please help us spread the truth to our nation by hitting the subscribe button, giving us a thumbs up, and sharing with your fellow Americans to join the Market Meltdown TV community today. Now, to the meltdown. Looking at the present world scenario, we can see many countries that have a government that controls every aspect of life. China's social credit system, which scores citizens based on their behavior, is a perfect example of a totalitarian regime. In North Korea, citizens have no freedom of speech, press, assembly, or religion. Any criticism of the government is considered a severe offense, punishable by imprisonment or execution. Moreover, we can also see the rise of authoritarianism in Western countries. The past few years in the United States is characterized by attacks on the press, the judiciary, and other institutions that are vital for a democracy. Poland's current government has been accused of undermining the independence of the judiciary, media, and civil society. In Hungary, Prime Minister Viktor Orban has been accused of suppressing the media, undermining the judiciary, and limiting the freedom of civil society. The COVID-19 pandemic has given many authoritarian leaders an excuse to tighten their grip on power. Many countries have used the pandemic as an excuse to limit civil liberties, such as the freedom of speech and assembly. China has used the pandemic to increase surveillance on its citizens, while Russia has used it to arrest opposition figures. The similarities between the totalitarian systems of the 20th century and Orwell's 1984 are striking, and as we can see, many of these totalitarian traits are re-emerging in the modern world. The rise of authoritarianism, populism, and nationalism in various countries, coupled with the increasing use of mass surveillance and propaganda, are clear warning signs that we are moving towards a future of totalitarianism. The continued erosion of civil liberties and human rights in the name of national security and the war on terror, coupled with the increasing use of technology for surveillance and social control, is creating a dystopian reality that is all too reminiscent of Orwell's vision of a totalitarian society. The internet and social media have made it easier than ever for governments to monitor and control the thoughts and actions of their citizens. The rise of fake news and propaganda, coupled with the increasing use of algorithms to filter and shape our online experiences, is creating a world in which the truth is difficult to discern and dissent is actively suppressed. In the face of these developments, it is important that we remain vigilant and aware of the dangers of totalitarianism. We must recognize that totalitarianism relies on mass support and that contemporary societies desperately need more people to withdraw their support of this brutal form of rule. We must also be aware of the ways in which totalitarianism can be resisted. As Orwell wrote, the moral to be drawn from this dangerous nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen. It depends on you. Resistance to totalitarianism requires the courage to speak out against injustice, to stand up for our rights and the rights of others, and to work towards a more just and equitable society. It also requires the willingness to take action, to organize and mobilize, and to engage in civil disobedience if necessary. The future is uncertain, but if we remain vigilant and committed to the principles of freedom, justice, and equality, we can ensure that the nightmare of totalitarianism remains firmly in the realm of fiction and that the autonomous individual will continue to thrive. Thanks for tuning in to Market Meltdown TV. We hope our expert analysis, news updates, and practical tips have helped you stay ahead of the curve in today's volatile market. The mainstream media will never want you to stay informed, so if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share it with your friends and fellow Americans. Your support helps us bring you even more valuable content. Remember to hit the bell icon to get notified when we release new videos. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.